pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can you please call the roll?
George Matuk,
Present.
Tony Aiken,
Present.
Knight G. Hingable,
Present.
Erlen Rojo,
Here.
Travis Escobar. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item on the agenda, superintendent's comments.
Thank you, and hello to everyone, school board members, and those in attendance. Can you hear me now? Okay. I want to take a moment to talk about the DM group and to dispel some of the misinformation that has been shared about the contract that you will be reviewing this evening. The DM group owner, John Kim, CEO and founder of the DM group, is a professor at the Harvard Business School and the chair of a public education leadership project, which is also known as PELP. What I can say about it is a joint effort between the Harvard School of Education and the Harvard Business School, which aim at strengthening the management and leadership capability of urban schools district leaders. I have personally participated in the PELP program at Harvard. PELP has partnered with over 58 urban school districts from across 27 states representing more than 5.5 million students in an annual student enrollment. Each school district at a different time worked closely with PELP to test and refine new management theories and practices aimed at improving teaching, learning, and student outcome. I want to emphasize that the proposed contract is for implementing the DM Group research-proven, field-tested breakthrough results, also known as BTR, school program. Components of the programs are individualized and group coaching for teachers, instructors, school leaders, focusing on strengthening collaboration and building leadership skills. Also, data analysis to assist with progress monitoring and data visualization platform, focusing on accelerating students' growth, professional development, project management, to provide weekly communications and status updates. The program has successfully implemented over 500 schools, benefiting more than 5,000 students and positively impacting over 20,000 students across the country in the past 5 years. Schools such as Los Angeles Unified School District and East Baton Rouge Parish School System. The Breakthrough Result Program was implemented here in 6 Providence schools this past year, from March to May of 2023. The implementation included 4 elementary schools, 1 middle school, 1 high school. Teams focus on 1 grade or subject area, ELA, math, and attendance. At the elementary level, the subset of students participated shows significant growth in writing, reading, and when compared to the other students, they outperformed. At the middle school level, 23% of the participating students moved out of the emergency status in 6th and 7th grade in ELA, which was a 8.5% improvement comparing to the students that did not participate. At the high school level, students participated saw over 69 points jump from their PSATs or SATs in ELA scores, while PPSD students not participating saw a growth of 27 points. In math, participating students saw a 26-point increase, while those that did not participate saw a 4-point increase. We also saw promising results with the graduating team of supporting 15 students to complete their required credit recovery courses to graduate. I want to emphasize that there was an RFP put out current for the $6.8 million contract, and PPSD received one bid in return, which was from the DNG group. This is $200,000 per school for such supports, and will support 34 of our elementary schools through high schools. Please note, it will be funded through the ERSA fund, the ERSA 3 funds dollars, which is committed to accelerating the student achievement and eliminating the achievement gap. To be clear, DNG was one of 3 bids from the initial $660,000 contract awarded in March of 2023. In June of 2023, PPSD used the state NPA to issue another RFP, which was sent out to 13 state vendors. And one bid was returned to PPSD. And that was the June Finance Committee. At the June Finance Committee, the members of the committee voted in favor of the TMG group contract and pushed it forward to the full board. Previously to this, the initial contract was approved unanimously with support from such as school board members Stevens and Mahingo. At all times, we had the data sharing agreements for this work and for the future work with DNG. Lastly, I want to express the gratitude to the school board for consideration of the DNG contract and emphasizing the potential positive impact on students' achievement and school performance at PPSD. We are all working together to better the future of Providence students. I appreciate your initial support for this contract, and I hope you will see that these implementation results can be expanded program and benefit all our students in the district. I urge you to support this contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda, or do I have a motion to approve the agenda? I have a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? The motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, public comment. First name on the agenda is Jeremy Sensor from the PTU. Welcome, Mr. Sensor.
Good evening, Superintendent Montanez, Board. I'd like to speak about DMG as well. 3 minutes wouldn't be enough time to address all of what's been out there. That's not what my focus is going to be, although it's very concerning. Some of what we've read in local watchdog groups and other information, which frankly, a lot of it comes from people in this organization who are concerned about the contract. I'm here to narrow my focus and then simply offer some questions that must be answered before you give approval to this contract. $6.8 million, a lot of money, regardless of where it comes from. And our students and family deserve every possible resource. So first of all, the overall presentation to the Finance Committee, once these things started swirling about it, the concerns, I looked through it and it comes across as lazy. And it doesn't rise to the level of work we expect from our students. As a teacher with over 20 years experience in this district, I think that the presentation should at least be at the level of work that our students turn in. The data used was weak, certainly seemed manipulative in its presentation form. There may be more data available. And if it was turned in by a PPSD student, it would be returned with suggestions and a resubmission would be asked. I think we can all agree that senior employees of this district should produce the work that's on par with that. A slide presentation that looks good can be created in a matter of minutes, But facts and data matter, and those facts and data were missing from the presentation. There are plenty of questions, and I think it's right to ask and have questions answered about $6.8 million. Based on the quality of the presentation before Finance Committee, it should be rejected. It's clear. Next, farming out this work to a company, okay, and it helped, when I worked here for the teaching and learning team, we loved the work that PELP did. But what are we doing to build capacity in the district? Are we just farming this out to give, a company 1 year of work? I mean, how much capacity are we missing that we need that work for $6.8 million? One of the most professionally rewarding things I've experienced while working as part of the teaching and learning team here in this district was to support Leviton, your school, superintendent, when you were principal. And we did some remarkable work. I'm sure you remember, because that school increased from 1 star to 3 stars, and it's part of the reason you're sitting in that chair right now. And there was great coaching in that building. There was great work done at the district level. And one of the things we hear consistently from RIDE is that we've increased the number of building administrators and we've put a coach in every building. We have the capacity to do this work, and there are employees from this district housed here too who believe that that work can be done in-house in the district. This contract comes across as wasteful as presented. It must be rejected as it's presented. And I'm going to leave you with a list of questions that I talked about that must be answered. And I probably won't get through all of them, so I'll leave it with you. But these are reasonable questions asked. We can dispel rumors and things like that, but questions are reasonable, especially when it comes to resources for our kids and families. So I'll start the list and we'll see how much time I've got here. So when specifically did the work for 22-23 begin? How were the schools chosen? Were they chosen to represent the district as a whole? How many days were DMG personnel on site? What were the dates? How often did DMG personnel collaborate virtually? When? What was the nature of the work at each school site? What evidence does the DMG team have that this work is replicable at scale? In total, how many contact hours of coaching did DMG provide per school? What is the status of the district's data sharing agreement with DMG, which you alluded to? Regarding elementary data on slides 4 and 5, and this is where we work with our students because, our policy is that you should have multiple opportunities to show proficiency. That goes for students, and I think it should go for the PPSD senior team as well. We should have an opportunity to answer these questions. What assessment was used to gather this data? It's been reported that different schools use different interventions and different assessment tools. Does this summary aggregate growth measured across different platforms? What is the sample size of students for each grade level subject? The questions go on. I mean, I'm happy to not take up all any more time than 3 minutes and leave this with you, but I think it's reasonable to have every single one of these questions answered. And I'll leave you with one last thing. If we're making a suggestion about revising your work and showing proficiency, a sample group of 9 students and the control group of 403 students, I believe it was, it's troubling. It's right that we have questions about this. It's not personal. It's right to have these questions asked, and it's right to have a school board that's going to look out for the value of every cent that should go towards our students and families. It's easy to talk about the people that bring these things up. It really is. But let's talk about the information, and let's talk about the facts behind what's being brought up. That's all I would ask. I'm more than happy to leave you with these questions, but I would say until every one of these questions is answered and until clarity is given, facts and data are given, and we have all of the answers, the contract simply cannot be approved. Again, we wouldn't accept it from our students because they turn in some of the best work in the state. You should see something. I mean, it's not just the slides, it's their explanations and it's the data that goes with it. We should expect the same from our district leaders. It's clear, it's simple, and it's not personal.
Thank you, Mr. Sensor. Next on our list, we have Dr. Riley, principal from Nathaniel Green Middle School. I think it'd be wise also if Jamie David, assistant principal from Nathaniel Green, also came up.
Excuse me, sir. I signed up for this public comment back in June.
I don't see your name on here, but I'll write it down. What is it?
Cynthia Jones.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Principal Riley, would you mind if we just let Ms. Jones come up?
Up to you, sir.
Thank you, let's do that, because I think your presentation might be related to the rest of the testimony. Please come up, Ms. Jones.
Oh, thank you so much.
You have 3 minutes, Ms. Jones, you begin when you're ready.
Good evening, everyone. Is this on? I believe it's on. I want to thank you, President Rogel, for being flexible. I, in fact, did sign up. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Cynthia Jones, and I teach at Anthony Carnevale Elementary. Tonight, I'm going to share about Susan Chin. She was promoted to superintendent of elementary schools when the state takeover began to set pace in 2020. Prior to that, she and Dorothy Smith were running all the elementary schools in Providence for nearly a decade. At times, Susan Chin ran all the elementary schools by herself because Dottie often was assigned as interim superintendent when there was a gap in leadership. However, about a year ago, Susan Chin, for reasons that are not clear to us, decided to step down as elementary superintendent of Providence Public Schools to take on the role of executive director of elementary schools, a title that she now holds along with 2 other individuals that work in the district. She, along with others, will be managing the DMG contract. Lastly, I want to commend the district for embracing the amplified, Eureka Square and American Reading Company curriculum for this coming school year in our elementary schools. I hope that we will continue to invest in our future, which is our wonderful students and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to share, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Dr. Jackson Riley and Jamie David from Nathaniel Green, principal and assistant principal from Nathaniel Green Middle School. Welcome. You have 3 minutes each, and you can begin when you're ready.
Good evening. Clicking the button helps a little bit. Good evening, Mr. President, Superintendent Board. Thank you for having us here tonight to speak about the work that DMG has done at Nathaniel Green Middle School and the work that we're looking for them to further build on this coming school year. My name is Jackson Riley. I am the new principal at Green as of June 2023. I've been in PPSD for 8 years. I've loved my time here. I've been blessed to work as a high school teacher here, an AP at West Broadway Middle School, a principal at Youngwoods, and now a middle school principal here at Green. The overwhelming majority of the work that I've done in PPSD is turnaround work, the most rewarding work in my opinion, and most recently leading the rockstar staff at Youngwoods Elementary School through incredible school transformation. I have a doctorate in educational leadership with a concentration in data-driven instruction and teacher collaboration, a combinatorial practice that nearly all leading research correlates with accelerating student learning. I've firsthand seen the work that can be done when effective teaching practices, teacher collaboration, and the right data are used jointly. When I came to Green at the end of the 22-23 school year, I was able to begin to see some of the work and impact that DMG had at NGMS. I've spoken with Ms. David, one of our assistant principals, regarding the work that DMG did during the school year, and she was very appreciative of the support and spoke very highly of the process. Heading into this incoming school year, we have worked closely with our school's leadership team and all the teachers at Nathaniel Green to develop school-wide instructional priorities around small group instruction, station rotation, and differentiation. These are all effective teaching strategies that blend with one another and have demonstrated to increase student learning. Prior to learning about DMG, we as a school were actually looking for a partner in this work to train our teachers on these strategies, provide coaching around them, and help us synthesize learning data to see what was working and what was not so we can make adjustments to best support our students and their needs. I was very excited to hear that DMG would be instrumental in this work and support our school in exiting comprehensive school improvement status. That is our first and foremost goal. As a principal, we make thousands of decisions every day. It's vital to have the right data to share with our teaching teams to collaboratively make the right decisions as a school community to accelerate student learning. We look forward to this opportunity and plan on collaborating closely with DMG to meet the needs of our students this year and to make Nathaniel Green the destination for education in Providence.
Thank you, Dr. Riley.
Switch way.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. President, Superintendent Montez, and school board. My name is Jamie David. This is my second year at Nathaniel Green as an assistant principal and my 18th year in education. Prior to becoming an assistant principal, I was a literacy coach at a school in Turnaround, and also a district-based literacy coach that supported Turnaround schools. So when I arrived at Green, I was familiar with the work that needed to be done as far as looking at the data and moving those students in order to help show growth. With that being said, when the PM group joined us in March, we had about 53 kids in 6th grade who were in the emergency category and 81 in 7th grade that were in the emergency category. And these are students that we've been tracking throughout the school year, but not with the level of fidelity and strategy that the DM group helped us incorporate into what we were already doing. So we used ERLA data that was used through ARC in order to identify those students, making sure they were getting appropriate conferencing, making sure that they were getting just-in-time supports. Because one thing that our teachers are really good at is making sure that they, categorize the data, but were they disaggregating the correct data in order to provide the right support. So that is one thing. Cassie from DM Group, she was my coach that started in March. She is in California, so she's at a 3-hour differential. And Cassie would get up at 6 a.m. sometimes and talk to me via Zoom, or she would talk to me at bus duty, because I would tell her, like, this is the priority, but I have school-based priorities right now. So she was super flexible, and we would sit weekly and just discuss how the data was moving. And when it was stagnant or would plateau, she gave me tips and strategies in order to help the teachers move those students. So based on those strategies and that neutral person on the outside, being able to provide support, looking, because I'm living it. So I'm seeing it every day, whereas she's coming out, she fresh set of eyes, able to support. So after those pieces of support and the meetings, the literacy coach, school-based literacy coach, and our district coach, they were able to meet with the teachers and come up with a list of students who really needed support right then. So after being able to identify those students, we were able to move 23% in 6th and 7th grade from the emergency to at-risk, and then move those students out of that at-risk category. Was it easy? No. But I knew if I needed Cassie, I could text her, I could email her, and she was right there to provide support when needed.
Thank you both for coming. Next, we have Dr. Stephen Peters and Dr. Melissa Watson, both from DMG, so it would probably make sense for both of you to come up together. Yeah, 3 minutes each. You can begin when you're ready.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Stephen Peters, and I had the opportunity. Is this on? My name is Dr. Stephen Peters. I had the opportunity to work as a performance coach here in Providence Public Schools with EQ Academy. We focus on graduation rate and attendance rate. My history in education is I've been a teacher, middle school. I've been an assistant principal. I've been a principal at both the elementary level and the secondary level. I've also been a turnaround coach where I've worked in schools and with leaders and leadership teams around transforming results for students. The places where I've led have been predominantly schools where students were students of color and or a part of a variety of economic, social backgrounds, where the commitment was, however, to make sure they made great gains as students in their schools and communities. A big part of my philosophy around education is the role of community in improving the results and impact for children. So even in my own doctoral work, it really focused around a lot on the role of fathers and father figures and their impact on the life of children. In this work, the key elements of the work that really stood out for me as a performance coach was one, recognizing teacher voice. Teachers and the leadership and the teacher lead or team lead were really concerned about not doing something that was an add-on, but having sustainability, having consistency and something that they can sustain beyond the 2 weeks with all that they have to manage and take care of. EQ Academy already at the time was strapped staff-wise and were taking on a variety of roles, and they wanted to know that what they initiated and what we followed through on from a week-to-week basis could be something that could be done once we were no longer a part of their story, so to speak. The coaching that they provided was real-time coaching. I engaged the team lead in implementing strategies to facilitate the meeting where they focused on the right elements, right? There's a lot of data, but what data really matters? So when we talked about attendance, when we talked about graduation rate, who are the students we're targeting? What is the goal? Why is that the goal? And what are some of the strategies you think people may want to bring to the table that may not have been heard before? And so leveraging teacher voice in those conversations is really important to determine next steps. And once we initiated a plan and innovative strategy, then we revisited the strategy to see what was successful. If it worked, we continued it, but we scrutinized why. If it didn't work, we left it alone and thought about other strategies. And so the voice of teachers in the process, because they're the closest to the students, was really maximized in the process. Another key element was celebrating the small wins. Like we won, we made an achievement, but also bringing student voice in that process. So for example, with graduation rate, students needed to do credit recovery. But if I needed to take 3 classes, I can feel overwhelmed along with my regular course schedule. So we leverage, well, what does the student want to tackle first? What subject of the 3 they need to make up can they tackle first?
Dr. Peters, go to time's up, but go ahead.
Right, sorry. And so, thank you so much. And so the goal was for them to leverage students' voice so that they can identify the areas where they wanted to grow and improve and demonstrate some self-efficacy by seeing themselves successful in that key area. So I think those were key elements of our collaboration that made it fruitful. And then at the end, finally, we did a step back where we looked at what worked, what didn't, what can continue with other populations or groups of students that had similar needs and supports. And then they used that tool that we developed together to say, this is what we want to do next time and even differently or bigger within our school. Yeah.
Dr. Watson, you have 10 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the board. It is an absolute privilege to be with you and to thank you for the opportunity to work with you, with your schools and your school leaders. It is very evident that you care a great deal about your scholars and their ongoing success. I have been a school transformation specialist for over 20 years, school-based leader at the elementary, middle, and high school levels, as well as an executive leader at the district level. I dedicated my life to this work because it matters, particularly with the DMG group. I worked with Bailey and Kennedy, Principal Zona and Principal Jones, as well as your executive directors, Gerard and Townsend. They each showed incredible dedication to this work. There are some unique aspects of our work that I hope that you will appreciate. First, as we have described, we are real-time coaches. That means that we are there with the school leaders in their proudest, as well as their most challenging and inspirational moments. We use both blended, where we do both virtual and on-site, so that there aren't missed moments to engage with leaders. We make sure it happens right now with them. We are always available to your school leaders because we understand the challenges of the work. We are practitioners, we've done it. We've proven track records of success and we collaborate with them to do so for their scholars as well. We are tellers for principals. The work of a school leader can be very lonely work sometimes. And so we take the time to build trusting, thoughtful relationships with your school leaders so that when they have to make those difficult decisions, we can engage with them, ask the tough questions, and help them to unpack the challenges before them. We build those type of habits that school leaders need when they're trying to transform schools. That's very different from simply doing the work of school leadership. Accelerating academic outcomes for scholars is hard work. It requires a level of dedication that is unknown to most individuals. Your leaders have it, and we help to accelerate that with them. It's a rapid response to data. That means when the data comes, we make no excuses for it, we respond to it, we identify what works, what isn't working, and how will we respond to it, not tomorrow, but today, right now. Our scholars need that level of urgency in every aspect of our shared work together. I want to end with something, a thought, 5 seconds. We know the research, we know what the data tells us as it gives us insight into the work of our teachers and our scholars and our staff in concert. What we hope to do is to continue to realize ambitious goals and build on the momentum of success. It is the greatest motivating factor in moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Watson, and that wraps up our public comment section. Next item on the agenda is school board member comments. Do I have any school board member comments? Chairman Mahingo.
I want to thank everybody for coming here today and speaking up regarding the DMG contract. I understand that that the DMG group has done some work with PPSD, but looking at the contract, I need more details on why the district needs to spend 6.8 million. I believe that we need to focus on our current resources that we have in our school and invest in them. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman Mahingo. Any other comments from school board members? Ms. Akin?
Yeah, I just wanted to, this is not related to the DMG, but I wanted to let everybody know I'm really pleased about Nathaniel Green Middle School has adopted a policy to ban cell phones while in the classroom. And I hope this policy is adopted district-wide and even statewide to allow students a more focused learning environment. So I'm very pleased about that initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aiken. Any other school board member comments? Quickly, I just want to welcome our new school board policy advisor, Andrea, to our first school board meeting. Andrea's going to be instrumental in helping developing policy work in conjunction with the school board and in collaboration with the central office. There's many things that we've lost control over, but one thing that we haven't lost control over is our power of advocacy, our power to share information, and our power to spur new ideas. So we're very excited to have you. I also want to shout out, she's not here, but Dr. Robert Santina, school board member Robert Santina. She was selected over the summer as Providence Business News, someone who was 40 under 40. And yeah, so she won that distinction. She's not here today due to family vacation. I just wanted to shout her out. I also want to shout out our school board clerk, Tiara Cooper. It's her birthday today. Happy birthday. Thank you for all you do. Truly, truly, like these meetings, our work would not, move forward without the role you play. So thank you so much. And then lastly, I just want to comment on, an observation that I've made. And I'll mirror the words, or I'll echo the words that Jeremy Sensor said, which is it's not about any one individual. It's more about the information and the process. As you guys know, I'm a collaborative school board president. I'm never going to hit anybody with a gotcha. I'm never here to make anyone look bad. And I'm very much, I'm the kind of, I pick the phone up and call people kind of person. Any school board member up here can attest to that. I believe in working collaboratively. I believe in the horizontal sharing of information. I believe in keeping school board members in the loop. And I believe in, keeping a transparent and very open dialogue as much as possible with my fellow colleagues. Half of the battle when vetting anything, approving anything, or, asking questions about anything is showing up. So first, I just want to thank our school board members for always being present, always picking up the phone when I call, being present in meetings when I organize, and always being, very inquisitive and curious about matters such as contracts, school policies, etc. What I don't want, just because we have these conversations, we have these dialogues, we have these meetings, not on the record, they're off the record, obviously, when we call each other, when we have a meeting, when we have one-off meetings with the superintendent, whatever it may be. It does not mean we're dormant, complacent. It does not mean we're not asking the right questions. It does not mean we're not inquisitive. It does not mean that we're not vetting. If there were any concerns that were brought to me, or anytime there's a concern, there have been concerns brought to me by school board members, school board president Rogel. I have concern about this, I have concern about that, I have concern. They've been brought to my attention, and any school board member up here can attest. I pointed them in the right direction. I've set up a meeting with the right school board, with the school district representative. I'm never shy of helping a school board member find the answers that they're seeking. But that is impossible if that cross collaboration, if that cross communication at a horizontal level does not exist. So I just want to thank school board members that are up here for always being collaborative, always being communicative, and doing the exemplary job that you do. So thank you all. Next item on the agenda is school board committee updates. We're going to start off with the policy committee. So that would be Dr. Robert Santana. Travis, you weren't here for the meeting? Superintendent or Sandy, were you at the last meeting to share a quick update?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will do my best. So at the last policy committee meeting, myself and Mr. Cachon, who is also sitting behind me, we presented the revised attendance policy. And during that time, we had some extensive comments from the school board members, from school board member Santana and also from Dr. Santow. And part of that was a very lengthy discussion around some of the things that they pointed out in the draft. And so we have made the revisions to add some clarification, and those have been added, and that is the policy that we seek for your approval for first read tonight, and then hopefully at the next school board second read, so we can have it adopted for the start of the school year.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart.
You're welcome.
Finance committee update. Chairman EBM is not here. Ms. Aiken, do you have an update to share with us?
Yes, thank you, President. The chairman and I were the two members present on July 12th for the Finance Committee meeting. We had 15 contracts on the agenda. However, a 4.5 report was withdrawn with the motion granted because it was in draft form. All other contracts were deemed in accordance with the turnaround action plan and pillars and goals. And we hereby approve to come before you this evening with including the DMG contract for $6.8 million. We did review an in-depth not only presentation, but the contract and about 60 pages of backup received from the vendor with statistics. And we received firsthand accounts from assistant principals that were there about the effectiveness of this type of breakthrough coaching program. One story that resonated with me personally was about a high school senior who was not expected to graduate with her class due to the learning loss from the pandemic. And with this accelerated program, she was able to do so on time with her class. That story is similar to my own educational journey, and I commend that student for having the level of self-motivation as well as the, this program with the veracity, acquired. Likewise, the chairman declared that he loved this particular contract, and he, in all his 8 years of service on the board, he did request, however, a desire to receive student-issued presentations to further support the effectiveness of this contract, but we felt that it was an in-depth review, and the meritocracy of the program on a national level was noted. It was deemed to tie in with student achievement and excellent learning, and with the Learn 65 Rhode Island plan, we felt like it tied in with all those other factors. Our next finance meeting is scheduled for August 16th, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aiken. Next committee, Health and Wellness, Chairman Mahingo.
Thank you, Mr. President. So our last meeting was in May. I had a meeting with Sandy. I'm proud that to report that we are currently scheduling upcoming Health and Wellness Committee meeting for the next school year, and also for our subcommittees. And also I wanted also to report that we have a couple of teachers from Central High School that's going to be joining our subcommittees. And I encourage all teachers and students to join our community meetings once our schedules are approved.
Thank you, Chairman. Next, Career and Technical Education Committee, Vice President Escobar.
No new updates other than we had a meeting in June. July's a blur, and we'll look to set up a schedule for the rest of the year. I think July's a blur for a lot of people, right? Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Escobar. Next item on the agenda is the first reading of the attendance policy. Do I have a motion for?
I think like getting maybe, do we need a further presentation on the attendance policy? Other than I would highly recommend for school board members to fully read it. I mean, we have 2 reads on this policy, so please take the opportunity, and I think even sending out a communication to the members that are not here to make sure they fully read this policy, ask questions, no surprises on any social media platforms on this, because this is actually the real work. So that's what I would say. If there's any other aspects where we should get more information on the attendance policy today, or if any questions should exist from members, because I know the attendance policy right here exists from other issues previously, but going back to President Rogel's statements earlier, we should be doing that work within committees and within each other, and again, on other public platforms to be able to do that. So I really highly encourage, again, board members read policy, ask questions. We have a process in place for all of that. And yeah, maybe there's opportunity to talk about the changes to attendance policy right now.
So President, I have a question.
Chairman.
Maybe to the district. And just for clarifications regarding, so I read the attendance policy. So regarding religious holidays, as we know, we have Jewish students, Christian students, and Muslim students. So are we marking these students absent for celebrating their religious holiday?
Hi, I'm Mark Catone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the Executive Director of Student Programming for the district. I work under Sandy's Student Support Office with Sandy. And this is BK Norton, our new Director of Attendance for the district. For those of you that may not know him, he was an assistant principal at Webster Avenue previous to that. And he also was a dean of students at Nathaniel Green before that. So he has a history in the district and has done a lot of good work. But yes, to answer your question, sir, so yes, so if it is a religious holiday, that is an excused absence. It does not count against them because it's for religious reasons. As long as they bring in some sort of note or documentation to the school that's why they were absent, and yeah, that does not count against them.
Excellent question, Chairman. Any other questions for the team up here? Hearing none, and I think you made excellent points previously, Vice President Escobar. Let's all familiarize ourselves with that. And yeah, let's try to, if there are any questions, let's try to get information up front. Obviously, we're here to share that information with the community, but let's use time to our advantage. We have time, let's use it to our advantage. Let's answer as many questions that we can, if we have any. All right, hearing no further questions, do I have a motion to pass the attendance policy?
Motion.
I have a motion, I have a second.
A second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The attendance policy has been passed for the first time. Next item on the agenda is report on contracts. Do I have a motion to approve items 8.1 through 8.14?
I think that we should take 8.4 out and leave room for any questions, so. Would that be a formal motion for that?
So yes, that'd be a motion to remove item 8.4 and make it a standalone item. Does that sound correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
So is there a motion to remove item 8.4 and make it a standalone item?
Motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Is a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear none. So do I have a motion to approve items 8.1 through 8.3 and then 8.5 through 8.14?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so now we have item 8.1, 8.4, District Management Group, DMG. Do I have a motion to approve the DMG contract? And then we can ask questions and discussion. There's a motion by Ms. Aiken. Is there a second? Is there a second by Mr. Matuk? Any discussion? Chairman Mahingable?
I have a couple questions here. Can the district share with us, why classical high school are being left out of this work?
Is there a representative from the district that can answer Chairman Mahingable's question regarding why Classical High School is being excluded as one of the schools that would receive services under DMG? We have Chief of Staff Scott Sutherland and Senior Advisor Joan Jackson.
Thank you for the question. Currently, based on its 5-star status and its ranking nationally, we decided to leave well enough alone there and really focus on the schools that were 1 and 2-star schools. So the majority of all the other schools are 1, 2, and 3-star schools, while Classical is already exceeding the state benchmark, national benchmarks.
Any further questions?
Yes, I
Chairman Mahingable?
have a lot of questions here, so please bear with me. So how is this purchase, the contract tied to overall student achievement? I'm talking about ACT outcome, student attendance, and also graduation rate.
Thank you. Each of our schools is responsible in their school improvement plans for targets in multiple areas. So one being ELA, the second being math, the third being attendance. Our high schools also, as you know, with the new 365 initiative and our own initiatives, we talked about FAFSA completion, as well as our graduation rates. So each school has their own targets based on their student state. So school A and school B have different data points, so they set their targets for growth based on the students that are in those programs. And from there, that's where the work begins. So it depends on which school and which targets they're going after, and what growth has to happen, that the work with the DM group happens. So if we look at 3rd grade ELA, we know that's one of our critical benchmarks to get all students on grade level. And our elementary schools have been focused on ELA. And the past couple of years, we have not seen as much growth as we wanted to. Last year, we saw growth in math, but we didn't make growth in ELA. So we've been focusing that work with our DM partners and looking at the data to improve students' achievement in those particular schools.
Thank you for your answer. I'm looking for more specific. Can you give us an example of a school, because of this contract, did they improve the student attendance, graduation rates, or the student ACT scores?
Sure. Do you have the copy of the presentation that we had submitted?
I did saw the presentation.
Okay.
So when we look at our E cubed and the work with E cubed was the one high school that the group worked with last year. And we looked at the PSAT to SAT growth in ELA. The students that were in the program, they improved by 69 points compared to the students that were not in the program who improved by 27 points. And I just want to be clear, this is not to say that everyone across our district is not trying to improve results for students. We have lots of data points. When we look at all of our curriculum, all of our assessments, we have our STAR assessments, we have access assessments, we have unit assessments, we have exit tickets, we have our state assessments. All of these are data points. While teachers are also doing all of their work on planning their lesson, planning their instruction, planning for their small groups, and what type of different activities they're going to do for each of their small groups. That is based in looking at the data from each of these assessments. And this is where the work comes in to support our staff in making sure they're choosing the right data and they're choosing the best strategies to improve the students' work on particular standards. And this is the technical assistance that our teachers and our leaders are getting with the work with our DM group. So, we can, when you're planning all of this time, when you're spending all of this time planning all of your lessons and then expecting our staff to then go through all the data, analyze all the data, group students, we're trying to help support them on the day-to-day. So that's where this work takes, helps our staff, helps our teachers, helps our leaders. But at the same time, we're building the capacity of our teacher leaders, of our curriculum teams, and of our school leaders so that this gets passed to them. So they can do this on their own, so we set up the systems that will move the district forward on a regular basis. I would say, again, one of the things that we see that has lacked in here is systems. So much of what we have done has been dependent on people, and if the people are gone, everything goes with them. And so what we're really trying to focus on is how we build out these platforms, build out our data platforms, build out process and protocol for how we look at data, when we look at data, and what's the best way to use that data. That's when we will move forward in a smooth way. And this is what we see as that last step in helping us get all of those systems in place at each school.
Thank you for your response. As you shared that the DMG group did some work with BPSD before. Can you share what about which school were involved and how they were chosen? And the question I have, how many days were DMG group personnel on site? And also what were the dates?
I can say that the schools were chosen with a collaboration with the assistant superintendents and executive directors last year. I don't have a list of all of the dates and days for all of the schools, but I can certainly get that to you.
Do you know how many days there were DMG personnel on site?
I don't have that in front of me, but I can get that to you. Because we have principal coaching, teacher coaching, data team meetings across all 6 schools, but we can certainly provide that for you.
Thank you. And also in total, how many contact hours of coaching did the DMG group provide per school?
Same answer. I would put that all together in one sheet.
Sure. And lastly, this is my last question. Why is the dollar amount requested the necessary amount, and also what is this source of funding?
So $2 million comes from RIDE through a grant, and the remainder comes from our ESSER $3.
Thank you, Chairman. And since we're still in the discussion portion of this, I think this is like an excellent time to point out that those were excellent questions, Chairman Mahinabo. And those are questions that the way I see this work out, the process work out, that should be asked at a committee level. Because right now we're voting on how many contracts, probably voting on more than a dozen. If we as a school board were to provide that level of question to every single contract we approve, if folks would have to, we'd be here forever. So that's why like the thorough vetting of these contracts is done at the committee level, where, if any school board member is welcome to go to any finance or any committee meeting for that matter, and that level of scrutiny can take place. Yeah, but at the same time, we can't expect folks to answer these questions at committee level at that thorough of a detail, and then also at a school board level. Now, if you had that line of question is excellent. Had that happened at the committee level, perhaps we'd have the answers to those questions tonight. Unfortunately, now we don't, and, as the senior advisor, I should prepare the answers. But yeah, what excellent questions, would have loved to have had those answers prior to, but thank you for sharing your questions tonight, Chairman Mangabo. So, we have a motion, we have a second, no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries. The next item on the agenda is executive session pursuant to RIGL 42-46-4 and 42-46-5A1 personnel administrator evaluation. I believe we need to take a roll call vote to enter into executive session.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
All right. Madam Clerk, can you call, can I get a motion to enter executive session? Motion. I have a motion, I have a second. There's a second. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
George Matuk.
Here.
Tony Aiken.
Present.
Nineteen Hingable.
Present.
Earl Rojo.
Aye.
Travis Esquire.
All right, the ayes have it. We are entering into executive session. Thank you to the members of the public who came to share their thoughts tonight.